Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blog Talk Radio's Coach Cafe, where you can get your weekly cup of inspiration on Friday, November 21st. And here on Coach Cafe, we welcome authors, coaches, and other experts to share their wisdom with us to assist us all in experiencing more self-empowerment. I'm your co-host, Estra Roell, known as America's Life Purpose Coach, coming to you live from Charlottesville, Virginia, along with...
I am Kathleen Martin, Certified Life Coach, known as your Balanced Life Coach, coming to you live from the beautiful Hamptons, New York.
And we are on the air now every Tuesday and Friday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we welcome our listeners to join in on the conversation by posting questions or comments in the chat room, or you can call in at 646-649-1015. That's 646-649-1015. And we'd like to take a moment to thank the listeners who've chosen to follow us and remind you that if you do like what you hear, you can follow Coach Cafe by simply clicking the follow button located on the show page on our banner. And we'd love for you to visit our website at CoachCafeRadio.com to stay up to date with everything that is happening with Coach Cafe. And while you're there, you can pick up your free self-empowerment gifts. And Kathleen, just tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, you can reach out to me for coaching with me. I have a complimentary discovery session that I would love to invite you to at Kathleen, with a K, martincoaching.com. While you're there, you can read much more about me and my coaching, and it is my passion to help people to live their best lives. And you can sign up for your quick coaching 5-part audio series where you receive one quick coaching technique to use every day that I know will make a difference in your life for 5 days. And you can also download my balance tool to see just where in your life you need a little more balance. So, again, that's KathleenMartinCoaching.com.
Thanks, Kathleen. And you can find me, Estra Roell, at americaslifepurposecoach.com. I also offer a free discovery session and also have free gifts on my site, so you can sign up for your visioning report, which is actually more than a report. It's a series of exercises that you can do right away to get more clarity on your vision and on your purpose, and some steps to get started. So your life purpose is always what you love to do. Sometimes we need a little help to get in touch with that, so that's what that will do for you. So today we are really, really excited to welcome Linda Deir, author of Guided, to join us in the Coach Cafe. And this is such an exciting book. Linda has such a wonderful story about how this worked in her life. So she's going to be speaking with us about her new book. And, her story, this is the true story of her life, from survival as an abused child through her escape as a teenager into her phenomenal success as a businesswoman in a man's world by the age of 19 and then beyond. And so using her life as a template, Guided is a roadmap for stepping on board at any point along your life path to join forces with your own spirit guides to create a better life than you could have on your own. And sprinkled through the book are 137 universally applicable tips, learnings, lessons, and awarenesses that Linda shares directly from her lifelong relationship with her spirit guides. So you're going to learn so much, and definitely you want to tap into this book because it is just full of guidance for you. And sometimes I think, Kathleen, we don't realize that we do have guides, right? We are all guided. We have our team, our celestial team, I guess you might call it, and they totally respect our free will and our lessons in life, but they're there to help us. We just need to reach out and ask for their help, right?
Absolutely. I think over time in my own life, I can tell you that it has become clearer and clearer to me that's exactly what is going on. And if you've been walking around feeling, that it's scary here, that you just don't understand why life is the way it is, why it's so hard. Why are these tragedies happening in your life, or difficulties and challenges, and you feel, I like to use the word wobbly, you feel kind of wobbly not grounded here. And the fact that this is talked about in so many different religions and cultures and philosophies, and what interests me is how we don't feel like we've got guidance. It's almost like we've been guided away from our guidance, and the more you make space for it, the more just even the desire to know that it could be true will cause you to feel just that much more capable of navigating this lifetime with more of that ability to feel the sensation that you can. And I love what Linda is again affirming for me personally, and I know for you too, Estra, that this is the truth of the matter. And the more you open up to the fact that this can be true for you, you'll feel more self-empowered. That's what we're all about in the Coach Cafe. So we are. I'm like jumping up and down.
Well, let me go ahead and really finish introducing her. In addition to writing, she's a speaker, life coach, an intuitive counselor, dream interpreter, and teaches individuals how to connect with their own spirit guides. She's a dynamic presenter in person, and I think that's what people will discover even via the radio waves here. And Linda brings through spontaneous insights from this higher source that reawakens the soul's urge to express itself. So, Linda, welcome into the Coach Cafe.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, we are very, very excited to have you here. And what we like to get started with is a little bit of your own story. Obviously, not all the details, but how did the writing of your book, Guided, come about?
It actually, it's been something where people have been nudging me. There's the nudge. That little nudge is always guidance, and it comes through people to you. So that started when I was in my 20s, and people were nudging me to write a book, because even though I wasn't in any of these businesses at the time, I was a architectural home designer and a home builder at the time. They were astonished by my intuition. They were amazed at how I knew how to get in and out of projects at just the right time. And I listened to my guidance no matter what everyone else was doing or what everyone else was telling me I should be doing. I always listened to my guidance from learning this throughout my life, from the beginning of my life. So it started there, and of course I was not ready to write a book, and then it continued to come out until 20 years ago when my spirit guide angel appeared right in front of me when I happened to have my Nikon camera in hand. And I captured her photograph, and she dissipated. And that same year, no more than a couple months later, they came to me in a dream and told me that they appeared so the world could believe, and that I would write this book, and it would be easy to write. because they would be helping me with it, of course, like, and guiding me like they always do. And, and that this was just destined to happen. So that was 20 years ago when that all came together in a short window period of time. And I remember having that dream. It woke me right up out of my sleep, and I just went, wow. And the other thing they told me in the dream is this book will be about relationships. And I went, relationships? I wasn't putting it together. It was my relationship with my guides is really what they meant. Now, in hindsight, writing guided, I know that that's what they meant. But at that time, I was in my second failing marriage, and I went, okay, relationships, huh? Yeah, I'm an expert on that one, So I think I'll just let that kind of, float in the periphery. I'm going to let that just sit there. I'm not getting it, and I was in a situation at that time where I needed to just pay attention to every step I was making, So, like being in the trenches, you know what I'm saying, you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We're familiar with trenches, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those, it was that moment in time. But, isn't that interesting how they'll come through? And they'll come through when it totally makes no sense in your life, right? Right? And it'll happen. Yeah. And people, many times, they miss it. Even I missed that. They said that this book will be about relationships, and I completely missed it because I was totally invested in this miserable relationship I was in, right? So I couldn't see it, and here I was, guided my whole life, and in that moment that I had that dream, I didn't see it. Okay, so anyway, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, though, right? You may not jump on that opportunity at the time, but you just let it sit there, and you're not ready, but it's ready when you're ready, type of thing. Okay, so that's how it made itself known to me throughout the years, and then they told me that the book would be easy to write. So in 2012, I started writing the book in August of 2012. And I was busy on another project, so I spent a couple months writing the book, got to chapter 9, there's 28 chapters in the book, and put it down, and came back to it the next year and finished it. It took me 4.5 months to write Guided. It's a 370-page book. It's pretty astounding, and it's the first book I ever wrote, okay? So you think I'd struggle with that. I had no struggle with it. It was like they said in that dream 20 years ago, it will be easy to write. It was. And it was easy to write because I didn't do this alone. I was guided. And when I was done writing the book, I said to Ray, my husband Ray, I said, I don't have a title for the book. I'm done writing it, but I don't have a title for it. And he goes, just let it sit and it'll show up, and of course, a couple weeks later in a dream, they came to me and said the title to the book is Guided. And I woke Ray up out of his sleep, and I said, Ray, I have the title to the book. And he goes, what is it? And I said, it's Guided. He goes, Linda, that describes the book to the T. He goes, it's exactly what it is. Duh. So anyway, isn't it fun when we just let it show up, huh?
Right.
And so anyway, I had that title to the book, and then I thought I was done writing it. And to my surprise, they started waking me up. A couple of weeks after that, they started waking me up night after night, 1 o'clock in the morning, every day for several weeks. And they'd have me up for 2 or 3 hours a night, and they were sprinkling through the book their lessons, tips, learnings, and awarenesses. So they made me start from the beginning of the book, reading through it again, and stopping me where they wanted to drop in these insights. So now what the reader was reading, the book, by the way, reads like a suspense novel, although it's a true story. It is an amazing story, okay? But then when they dropped in their wisdom between, the reader reads it and there's these little points of insight as they're reading it. What it does, it's almost like a commentary. It's like it puts it together for the reader. Now, it's about drawing the reader in. It's about their story. It's about helping them remember the steps they took in their life from the beginning on through, and it wakes them up. It's just a dynamite presentation. It's a great way. The readers love it. They say, I start reading it, and I can't put the book down, So it's working just like the guides intended.
Right.
So it's a great book. It's written well, and it's a fun read, and it's fascinating, and it's a suspense novel type of a read, and it's got the guidance all the way through it. It's great,
Oh,
It's wonderful. Yeah. It's like I like to consider it the way it was put. It's a training manual to help you to live a fearless life, because wow, do we live a fearful life, right? And it's tragic that we, like you put it in what I've read, and it just hit me right in my core that it's absolutely true. What a precious life this is, and what a tragedy it is that we live it in such fear that we don't live it fully. And so I love what you're sharing throughout the book. It really is a training manual for life.
Well, when you talk about that, Kathleen, the part where they said that, that unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people who leave this world having lived. It's going to be the biggest tragedy of our time, is what they said. That many people will have died from this life, having lived a fear-based life. Okay,
I know
that's going to be and the only way that can happen. And I don't want to scare the listener, because it doesn't need to happen. Okay, and the only way the only reason that's been able to happen or go on like that is because people haven't known who they are.
Right.
See, the first thing that the guides taught me in my early life when I was still a baby is they guided me to learn who I was. It was the first curriculum that they insisted that I learn about, was learning who I was. I'm going to picture something for people so they can wrap their head around this. It's like going into battle. If you're a soldier, imagine, 500 years ago, they went into battle and they had all this armor on, right? They had their helmet on and they're all ready to go into battle. Well, they wouldn't dare go into battle without all that on. They wouldn't stand a chance, would they?
Right.
Okay. Now, if you don't know who you are, it's like going into life without knowing who you are. That's your armor, is knowing who you are. So you wouldn't dare go to battle without your armor. So why would you go into life without your armor and not know who you are? You don't stand a chance. You aren't yours. You are theirs. Now, when that happens, what happens is now everything that's thrown in front of you, marketing, threats from anybody. You better do that, or this is going to happen, or you better do this.
Right.
All this starts to wear down the person before they even realize they are a person, and that's where it goes. That's where it gets off track. And then everything they're told, like let's say they find out that they do have this guidance. As little kids, they bump into it. They know something's there. And then when somebody in authority says to them, well, that was just your imagination. Well, they don't know who this little person, this new person, doesn't know who they are yet, this child, this new person. So they just kind of go, oh, okay, well, I don't know something you know, so I'm just going to discard that. And they discard one thing after the other, and before they know it, they never know who they are. And that's where it goes south. That's how that's how the fear is sold to them. And that's why so many people got lost.
Yes, I agree, Linda. It's like as I ponder, as I ponder and sit and ponder, how did this come about like this? noticed a long time ago that I started to question so deeply. I just know there's more to this than I'm being helped to understand. And then, of course, fast forward, really kind of feeling like I have a clearer picture as to how, just like you described, and earliest on, if we had been told, little one, you are so magnificent, you are a divine extension of a divine creator, and all these things that we've learned in the interim, but to really feel it at your core and then be able to handle it when somebody says to you very early on, oh, no, that's not true. Like they say that little children, you still have that golden thread to the source of you because you're new and you haven't been so influenced away that you believe it and you actually see it and you can go off into your imagination and spend time there and it's real. And then suddenly these older people come in who don't have it anymore say, that's not true, that's just your imagination. And then it kind of, like to me, it must have felt for us as children like a kick in our gut that we felt like this thing was taken away and awareness was taken away. And when you're talking about these spirit guide angels that, a lot of philosophies, a lot of religions say that I was born up as a Catholic, that you were given a guardian angel, right? And it felt so good as a child, but then it was like not really affirmed strong enough to really believe it into my adulthood.
Right.
And then you feel like you're navigating all by yourself and you're stumbling and you're falling and you look around and actually so are the people around you. So it's like you're kind of thrown to the dogs,
Right, I
So
know.
who are these spirit guide angels? Can you help our listeners and myself and us, I'm sure, want to know, who are they and how do we really relate to them?
Well, you don't go out and ask for your spirit guide angels to show up. You don't demand that your spirit guide angels are there for you. You can't just ask and expect them to show up. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So people will say, ask your spirit guides.
Right.
That's like saying, you know what that's like saying when people hear that? It's like saying, well, just learn to love yourself.
Right.
Okay, people
right.
know, they've heard this, and they know that it's true. That part that they do know that there's truth in that, they've just never bumped into it. Okay, it hasn't worked for them, so let's try the next thing. Maybe the secret will work. Maybe the other thing will work. Maybe some other. It can't be something I have. It's got to be something I don't have, and something I have to, it's almost like I have to hit the lottery to find it.
Right.
And that's completely wrong. All right, we were born. It's like we were born with this GPS system built into us. It's like an operating system. We were born with this, all right? This is not something that was given to us later or gets given to us later. It's what we came in as. In fact, it's who we were before we got here. That's the only reason people notice there's something missing.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so we have to go back to the beginning to remember what that feels like and go, and some people are angry about it. Some people get mad. Okay, Everybody has a different way of expressing what that void feels like to them. Okay, but they know that something isn't right. They always know it. It doesn't matter how much they're pulled into the fear, how much they're pulled into the societal version of reality. They still know that there's something that's not showing up. That's the guides. That's the agreement they made with these guides before they dared to come into this world. Nobody in their right mind would come into this world without help. It doesn't happen like that. So what happens when we're born is we come in and we're a new person. We're not a baby. The guides never see you as a baby, as somebody who's helpless. They don't see you like that at all. They don't. So they come at you. They're right there with you. In fact, the younger you are, the more they are with you because you're not shut down yet. You haven't blocked them out. That's the only thing that's happened to people. They blocked out their guides. And I'll tell you see the kids walk around with their phones and texting. They're so invested in that mechanical device.
Right.
You talk about pulling you away from your source. That couldn't be a better. That's probably the best distraction on this planet right now. Little devices they have in their hands. You know, they're scared to be alone. Why do they have them in their hands? They're talking to friends. Okay, and a lot of these friends they've never even met. They're mechanical friends. They're digital friends. They're you know, and so their disconnection is even greater now. See, it's all a design to keep us separate. If we can stay separated from our true source, then we'll never belong to ourselves. We're completely controlled by everything that's around us, and we'll never get to know who we are. It's unfortunate, but that's what's going on. So what people have to do is they have to learn. Don't throw out all of this technology and all of these great things going on in our world, but we have to learn to manage them better. So we have to put them. They have their time. Okay, we can have them over here and we can use them over here, but you have got to disconnect from this, because until you do that, can you reconnect to what's really right there? The guides are. There's no manipulation with your guides. They have no biases. They will never try to steer you in a direction that's not good for you. Never. They never lie to you. They never use love as a weapon. They don't do any of that. They're not even capable of doing that. Okay, so if you really want to know where the truth is, the ultimate truth that exists in this world, you will get it from your guidance. It's the only place that it's pure, and it's not there to manipulate you, to get you to do something somebody else wants you to do to benefit them. See, that's what's gone wrong. And so people keep reaching out there, and they keep thinking, "Well, I'm not pretty enough." Because I know that because that's what the media tells me. My friends at school, they're all programmed with this, so they tell me that too. Society tells me I'm not smart enough. I'm not enough. I lack something. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. And it's a downward spiral, you guys. And this is where this is why angels and spirit guides right now are so popular. People know that something is wrong.
Right. I agree with you, Linda. I think at the same time it looks quite daunting and quite almost disturbing. It does for me when I look out there and I go, what is going on? Why are my fellow, beings on this planet having such a difficult time? And we hear this enormous amount, of course, because of the technology and how fast we can get news, and a lot of it is very disturbing and causes us to go into fear, that it is at the same time, to me, it's almost like a tipping point is happening, and that's why, with the ability of, say, the Internet, right? It's like this source of information that's very fast-moving, and we have access to a lot of information that I personally, I know that what you're putting out is what you're getting back to, that I can see a lot of hope and optimism at the same time, where so many people are being introduced to, this particular topic alone is quite, for most people, I don't know about you, but it generally does not come up in conversation, whereas you can have a conversation with many people about this now because of that, where this is to me where we want to go to. How can we help people be more self-empowered? And it sounds like you're saying to us, Linda, hey, you already have the power. It's within you. Now disconnect from all of that distraction. Make time for that, and you will feel like you've always wanted to feel, right? That you can, and you're feeling good about yourself, so you don't even notice those ads telling you how you need to be better, or better looking, and you don't even notice that somebody is saying something to you and you take it on as personal. You more turn to them and realize that they must be pretty darn out of alignment and in fear if they're saying such a thing. Those kind of things, to me, are the things that I see. But with the youngest ones here, I feel like, yeah, they need us. We're like the wisdom. They need us to start to say, hey, lift your head up and take a look out. They're down. Have you noticed? Everywhere you look, they're looking down.
That's a good observation. That's a very good observation. I mean, if you were to take a picture of that and look at that
right.
20 years earlier, you would have gone, what is wrong here?
Right.
See, and that's where I'd like to lead this, is here's what's happened with the technology. You notice how when the new phones come out, how the younger people, they need that new phone.
Yes.
Their social upbringing, their peer pressure requires it, okay? So what is that?
Mm-hmm.
That's their ego.
Yes.
Okay, now their ego is demanding that they do these things so that they can be, the one with the newest phone, the smartest one, the most technical one, the coolest one, whatever it is. Okay, they're invested in their ego. I got to tell you, when we were young kids, we didn't have that pressure on us like the kids do now.
I know.
Okay, so it's really an issue with the ego, is what it is, and that's very enticing when the ego gets that dominant in the person. It's really hard to remember anything before that. It's like you go blank.
Mm.
Okay, so these kids, what they have to see, there's nothing they have to do now. They've got what they want. Their egos are satisfied. They don't need to do anything. They'd look at us and go, I don't need anything. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
They're convinced that they've got what they need.
Right.
So how do you reach them? You don't. You don't reach them. They're already so far into that. They're consumed. They're one with it, okay? Until they crash in that, until they hit that bottom, they find out they can't get the newest phone. They're not the coolest kid on the block. Their parents can't afford it anymore. I don't know.
Right.
Whatever it happens to be. It's, something happens where maybe their parents ground them and take their phone away from them. God forbid should they do that, I mean, this is really out of control. So until something happens in their life that brings them down and knocks them down, are they going to be ready to even begin to realize something is missing in them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, it's gone so far now that it really is scary. It really is. You guys can relate to this because, am I right to say that you guys were around before those cell phones were popular?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we have a part of us that worked without that we weren't plugged in. Okay, but if we were to say we were plugged in, the thing we would say we were plugged into would have been the TV.
Yep.
Raised with the TV, the babysitter was the TV. That was the quote programming that we got. Okay, so that was not as a big a hurdle to overcome. But these kids, they're tuned into it all the time. These kids even sleep with their phones in their bed, so they don't miss anything. They don't miss a text message. They don't miss a phone call. They don't miss this is out of control. So this is at the point where it's really ridiculous. So how do they get back to the beginning of all this? I'll tell you how it happens. You have to go back to where you were still humble, where you were still open. That goes back to when you were a baby. That's where that was. That the baby didn't have these devices in their hands. They were free agents. They were still not plugged into all this, okay? So you have to go back to when you're a baby, and you have to, if you can do it, if these kids can do it. So there has to be ways for these kids to go back to that, to be vulnerable. How about that for a word?
Yeah.
They've got to go. It's the opposite of their ego. They've got to be, you can't tell them to throw their ego out, but you have to take them back to that time where their hearts can be touched. Until their hearts can be touched, can their hearts be open?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then there's possibilities that are unlimited, that they can be reached, that they can discover, that they can experiment. You know, the baby's not afraid. The baby knows how to ask. And when I say the baby knows how to ask, the baby doesn't sit there and say, you know, I need a new iPhone, you know, the new one, you know, I need that. The baby says something like, I'm scared.
Mm.
The baby says something like, am I alone? I tell me I'm not alone. The baby says something like the basic things, okay? That void that's there in this life in us is what the baby will ask for. It's what the baby remembers because the baby just came from there.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes past attracting it. The baby is it. So until they can go back to that little baby and revisit that little baby before it got the complete dose of distractions thrown at it, or you're not going to be able to reach the kid or the adult. In my opinion, this is how I learned. Now, I didn't have I was born in the 50s. I didn't have these distractions that are so prominent now, okay, like the kids do. But it's the distractions that have to be managed. That's a tall order. Now, the parents need to get involved in that, don't they?
Mhm.
How can you get the parents involved when they don't even understand what this is? Like you said, Kathleen, they got waylaid from the beginning of their life. They missed it.
Mhm.
Okay, so what Guided does, here's the reason I wrote the book. Guided it's like you said, it's the manual that puts people on track with their own remembering how they started out in their life. It's my story, but it's really a story about them. It's their story as they recall and they remember and they go, oh man, you know how you read part of it and you said, that really touched me, that really hit me, that really got my attention. That's what it does to the reader. The readers are different. Different parts of the story will awaken them, and then when they read that little part of the story, there's that little insight that the guides dropped into the story 137 times throughout the story, okay? So it's designed to wake the reader up.
Linda, we need to tell people where they can get this book. Let's take a little break here, and tell them where they can find you.
Okay, if you go to lindadeir.com, that's DEIR.com, that'll take them to the home page, and the book is sitting right there on the home page. They just click on the book. It'll take them right to Amazon. It's available in both Kindle and paperback.
Excellent.
And the photograph on the front of this book is the photograph I took 20 years ago of my spirit guide angel. It's a real photograph of a real spirit guide angel. How cool is that? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really amazing to actually get a photo.
It was unbelievable. I mean, I've seen my guides before, but never have I seen one that physically there. And I had a camera in hand, you know? What's the likelihood of that? So they said they appeared so the world could believe. So they wanted that there so people could connect with it.
Yes, very intentional. So how does all this work with law of attraction and other teachings that we're familiar with.
Okay, now as far as the law of attraction goes and your guides, it's the only way you can reach your guides. It's the only way to do it. You can't just decide one day you want to go, you have a conversation with your guides and have this relationship with them and expect it to happen. You can't just ask and say, well, I should get an answer. It doesn't happen like that. What happens is, as you get to be more of who you are, remember how I said in the beginning of this, your guides, their first curriculum is to guide you into learning who it is you authentically are, you, the real you. And the more you become you, the more you become attractive to your guide, okay? The more you become irresistible to your guide, okay? So now imagine being irresistible to anybody, okay? That's what it's like. When you become you, really step into that vulnerability of being you, in spite of what anyone else might judge you as, what they might think of you, what they might say about you, how you don't fit in to their crowd anymore. Okay? You are you. You are confident. You are boldly yourself, but you're you in a beautiful way. You're you as you were when you came here, except now you're conscious of it, and you're living it out while you're here. So everything you do is done with passion. It's done because that's who you are, okay? Your guides are with you. When you live like this, you couldn't get rid of your guides if you tried. How about that? Okay, so you can't go out and look for your guides and say, well, I'm going to read a bunch of these books and I'm going to connect with my guides. No, you just have to learn to be who you are, that beautiful person that you already were. Not somebody that you have to be pretty enough, not somebody that you have to have a new car, not something where you have to be married to the most handsome guy. You have to be the best singer or whatever. No, they love you for who you are. In fact, your guides may be the only ones who do. Now, are you ready for a relationship like that?
Right.
That's what it's like, you guys. Now, here's a fun little story. Do we have a few minutes?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to fast forward here. Ray and I work together in everything we do. We met 10 years ago, got married. We met 11 years ago, got married 10 years ago, January 1st of 2015. Anyway, our 10-year anniversary is coming up. and when we met, Ray, and I saw each other, and he gave me he looked at me, he looked right through me from across the room, and I was like, oh my God, I have to run. I just ran out of the room. Okay, I was like, oh, I can't take that. It's just too much energy hitting me at once, and I'm already tuned into to energy, so it was like over the top for me. So I ran, and then the same day we met again. The same day at the gym, and I'm going, oh my God. Okay, so what's the likelihood of that? So he corners me, and he's not going to let me get away with this time, okay? And he's telling me his life story in 3 minutes, the 3-minute resume. Okay, so he tells me, and in this resume, he says, the first thing he tells me is he's married. And my rule has always been to never, ever date a married man. I would never do it, all right? And I never did. So I just let him talk, and I didn't say anything. I just let him talk, and and then, we did a few things together, but I was keeping him at bay because he was a married man. He was breaking one of my rules, and I wouldn't go there, right? So anyway, I said to him, at that point in my life, I was done with the dating thing. I was 50 years old. And I said, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. Everything I pick seems to be tragic, and I'm not using my picker anymore. I'm not doing the picking. So I had a conversation with my guides, and I said, listen, if I meet the right one, give me a sign and let me know by giving me a sign. Otherwise, I'm not going near it. Okay, so here Ray is kind of floating around in the periphery of my life, and I keep him out there on purpose, right? So the guides come through. I'm talking on the phone. This is about 2 weeks after Ray and I met. And they came through, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend. I said, yeah, I met somebody. He's a nice guy, but I'm not, he's married and blah, blah, blah. And through the phone line, remember the old party lines?
Yes.
Yes.
Through the phone line came the voice. He's the one, lose your rules.
Oh, my goodness.
I dropped the phone. I dropped the phone right in the driveway. And I was like, oh, my God. Okay, so I picked it back up, and I said, listen, I'm going to have to call you back. She didn't hear it on her end. I only heard it on my end. That's how these guides work, right? So, and I said, oh, God, this is too much. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't see this coming, all right? But my guides, I told them this. I told them to send me that sign, right? And that, 3 days later, we've been together ever since, Ray and I. And I'm telling you, you guys, no way have I ever had such a golden relationship in my life than I have today. And I got that because I got out of the way. So the lesson here is you don't pick your relationships. They find you. And there's the law of attraction again. Okay.
So yeah, I know. I love what you're saying about be yourself, be authentically you.
Yep.
Because my understanding of this is that what you're seeking really can't find you unless you're being you.
That's right.
You have to
That's
be you
right.
in order to attract.
You can't. It's like a magnet can't attract the other magnet unless they're alike. It can't happen. You can't. They don't click. They don't connect. They don't adhere to each other. It doesn't work. You can make everything else. Anything else is just you're wanting something that's not yours. Like some people, let's say somebody wants to be with somebody who's got a bunch of money, okay, because they don't want to work anymore. They want someone to take care of them. Well, if you don't know how to make a lot of money, you have nothing in common with them. That's not a fair exchange.
Right.
It doesn't work. It might work for a while. You might be pretty enough to attract that person who's got that money, right? Okay, there's that pretty thing again. It's used like a weapon. That's not the law of attraction. That's manipulation.
Right.
See, that's where people get off track. They keep thinking they can make it happen. They can force it to happen. If they get enough plastic surgery, they can attract something they couldn't have attracted before. And that's probably true for a little while.
Right.
But it won't hold. It won't.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's not a true attraction. It's not you.
Yeah, and I would think life tends to hand us the lessons we need in order to expand, and I would agree with you there that you can force things to happen, but it doesn't bring you what you thought it would bring you, and it's really not lasting because it's been done by, as you say, manipulation and force and a whole lot of efforting, whereas
that's how the kids have learned now. See, this is the problem. This has been their basis for learning. Everything's manipulated. Everything that comes at them, the media, the advertising, their friends are manipulated, so they think that's just normal. They don't know the difference.
Yeah.
So Linda, can you? Oh, go ahead, Estra. Go ahead.
Well, I was just also, thinking you're talking about your guidance coming as nudges, and sometimes it comes maybe from something somebody says, or what kinds of nudges have you experienced in terms of really understanding that this is my guidance speaking to me here, feeling that alignment with that.
So are you talking about how do you know? How can you discern?
How do you know?
How do you
Yeah,
discern between?
How do you discern? Yes.
Yeah, between what you think came from your own thinking and wishful thinking, maybe, as opposed to them. Here's one way to measure that. When you get a nudge, a sign, a signal, a message, a dream that tells you something you don't want to hear. That's your guides.
Oh no!
Is that good? Okay, that's true. Because now, if you get a bunch of information about stuff you do want to hear, it could be your guides, but you need to breathe, and you need to. If all you're getting is all the good stuff,
Okay.
You need to really take a look at the source of that information. You need to question it, because your guides they give you the truth. See, that's not something people are accustomed to. People are accustomed to being coddled and told what they want to hear. It's unfortunate, but that's what they're accustomed to. So one thing I've heard people say to me over the years throughout my life is I'll say something like, well, they'll say, do you have any messages for me from my guides? And I usually feel things from, for people. I can feel things. And they'll say, oh, but wait, Linda, wait. Don't tell me anything bad. I'm going, okay. Now, there is no such thing as good and bad. You guys know that already, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe it's something that's not convenient. Maybe it's something that's going to take some, you're going to love this word, it's going to take some work.
Right.
Oh, no, we don't want to work. What about the magic? What about the secret? What about the lottery?
Right.
People don't want to hear about that. They just want it to show up on their table wrapped up in a present, like with a bow on top, and it's magically theirs. And this is ridiculous. What a world we've grown up in.
Well, it's so confusing with it. It makes your head want to spin off, from all the conflicting information that you get back and forth. Like, for instance, going back, because I really want our listeners to leave with some real good stuff that they can go, okay, I have more understanding here. Where, on the one hand, we will hear, oh, yes, your angels and your guides are always there. They're always available for you. They always answer all of your questions. Ask and you shall receive. And I think we have half information. So, then we're distracted and we have to go about our life. And we really do want to have this deep connection with ourselves and that inner guidance that I look at it like this. You can help me. Where, look, we were given it from that spark of life that we came in. Like I loved in the beginning of your book, really hit me where it was like, it was described like this, where there was an urge to come here, and it was an urge that you could not ignore. Because a lot of people go, why would I choose to come here when it can feel like so much pain? There's tragedy, and like the discussion we were having before about you can become like very overwhelmed with looking out at the condition of the planet right now and go, well, this is just too much, right? This is just too much to even handle. But my own belief is that, look, there's an intelligence behind all of this, that the thing that I'm looking at as such a big problem is really quite small to it. So if I just relax and be at ease, like it probably is, and I breathe, like you were bringing in breath, Linda, and I just be open to a suggestion that maybe I could look at it like that, and there's a solution beside every problem. I'm talking about the law of attraction, where everything is frequency and vibration in our real, like everything is vibrating and it will attract accordingly, right?
Right.
That, what about, your everyday, day-to-day look? What I'm looking for here is that my ability to feel the sensation in my body, because I am in a body, where I feel like I do have a connection to something greater than me that will help me through this particular problem or this particular tragedy, say, Linda. It's like everybody's going through something or other. And the thing that I think about, too, is up ahead in my life, I'm still here, may be something even bigger than the one that I'm experiencing now. But I want to feel as though I have that connection, that help around me that I can say, help me. And help me through this moment where I feel like if I could snap my fingers, I wouldn't be here anymore because it feels that difficult or that overwhelming. Like when you're on your knees crying.
Yeah. And that's what it takes, Estra. That's what it takes. You've got to get back to that point where you are vulnerable, like you were.
Why, though? Why do we have to get that in that much pain to say, I need your help?
It's not pain. I'm not talking about pain.
Okay.
Pain and vulnerability are two different things. See how you think the vulnerability is the pain? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
The vulnerability is the little baby. I'm going to take you back to that little baby. Okay. It's the little baby that came here. The way I describe it and guide it from the beginning of the book.
Right.
It's a life destiny dream that brought me so much awareness so early on that without it, I probably wouldn't be here right now, okay? I mean, I really needed some reinforcements from the guides right out of the gate in my particular life. Okay, So the little baby, by the way, this was so easy a baby could do it. Okay, that's one of our taglines because it's true. It's so easy, only a baby could do it. By the time you become a little bit more than a baby, okay, now you've got some things in the way, okay. But the little baby, the baby is vulnerable, okay. So it's not it's not in pain. It's vulnerable, okay. It's what's so cute about it, all right. It's what we love about those babies. It's sweet. It's as real as it gets. That's who they are in that little body and that vulnerability. There's everything they say comes from what? It comes from the truth. Okay? So the truth is also vulnerability. Okay. How many people tell the truth now? So people have to get back to the beginning where it all started and get back to their truth, Everybody's truth is different, okay? But that's where the magic is. That's where the truth, that's who they are. That's where they reside. That's where they left themselves off, right there. That's where their guides are. It's in who they are. It's in their truth. See, people don't want the truth. And until they're willing to say, like what you said, Estra, until the pain gets so bad that they're finally willing to go, okay, I'm done with this. I'm really ready. I'm ready to step into this. I'm ready to go all the way back.
Right.
Where I got off track and get into my truth. Now, when I was in my truth, when I was a little kid and I found myself in a bad spot and I bumped into my guides. I did that when I was 20 months old, by the way.
Right.
I did that when I ran away from home at 20 months old. Okay, I knew something was wrong in that home.
Yeah.
And I was in danger, so I had to find a way to. I had to do something. All right. It didn't matter if it was the right thing, the wrong thing. Of course, I wasn't skilled in this world, so I didn't judge it. I did the only thing it was a knee-jerk reaction to bolt. Okay, I did what I had to do. And it didn't matter what the consequences were. Turns out the consequences were, there's always consequences, you guys. It doesn't matter if we're living in the truth or not. The consequences are there. So you may as well live in the truth and be who you are, because if you're going to have consequences, they may as well be worthwhile consequences, right? Okay, so instead of wasting another life, another day, another month, a year, wasting other people's lives, drawing them into your mess. So as a little kid, I at 20 months old, when my mom, abused me so badly at one point, I asked for help. Now, when I did that, I was a baby. I had everything going for me. I was a baby. I was vulnerable. I didn't have to be in pain, but in this particular case, she threw me into such a tizzy. I had no place. I was out of options at 20 months old. So
right.
I asked for help, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And when I did it from me.
Right.
See, when people ask for help when they're people, they're not asking for help from themselves. They don't even know who they are.
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, so I was asking for help from the real me because I didn't know how to be something I wasn't at that age. That's all I knew was me. Okay.
So excuse me, you mean the vulnerable you? The
vulnerable me that wasn't afraid. If someone saw me cry, if someone saw me ask, if somebody saw me talk to my guides, it didn't matter how they judged me. You hear it?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It didn't matter what they thought. It didn't matter what they might have told me. I was so sure about me, myself, that I stepped into that, and I did it the first time. And the first time I did that, coming from that whole person that I was, even though I was a baby, I got answers. They showed up. My guardian angels were all around me. They were physically there, okay? They were palatable. And as I sat in my sandbox and I played and I talked and I cried, open air, I was speaking out openly with them about my life, okay? And I was vulnerable as you could possibly imagine. I created a bond with my guides that was unbelievable. And the way that happened, Estra, was I learned from that. I learned how to be able to be me because for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. Okay, so I wasn't afraid to be me because finally I got away from the people who were hurting me. And I was able to be around those who loved me, okay, for me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know who that was until I tested it, until I threw it out there, until I really needed help, all right? And from that point forward, this relationship with my guides just built. They are the most intelligent source of information and guidance and helpers and advisors, intelligence that you will ever meet. In fact, after having this relationship with my guides, honestly, everyone here, I kind of go, I can spend a little time here doing this, but I really have some other things to do because your guides are just superior thinkers and they're they're superior problem solvers. They're superior at seeing that you accomplish what you came here to do. That's that urge. That's that urge to express yourself. That's that passion you came here. When you came here, all of us, when we came here, before we got here, there's nothing that could have drawn us into this unless we thought, once we got here, there was nothing we couldn't do. Okay? Right. And we had a mission. Every one of us has a special purpose in this life. And, that's the void that's missing. That's what people know. They're hurting inside. That's what's missing. They go to these AOBs. They go to these jobs where they don't want to go. They don't like their jobs. They don't like the people there. They don't like what they're doing. They want to do something that matters. That's the urge.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I'm getting it.
When they read this book Guided, they're going to get it. Do you see it? Do you feel it?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And there's that believability factor. And I just want to take a quick, Linda, can you stay with us for another 10 minutes?
Sure.
Oh, good, because I'm looking at the clock. It's so fascinating, and I got so absorbed that I went, oh. We generally ended about 5 minutes ago, but we always leave more time, Linda, just in case it gets like this, because it's really important. I feel this conversation is very important because a lot of us that have our, it's almost like I feel like my guides, my inner desires for really wanting to know this deep inside of me took my head and pointed me in that direction so that I could see this book and the other influences that come my way pretty much every single day, because it's on fast forward now. But it's so important. I think that there's many of us that are sharing. I'm sure how Estra feels at the same time. We want to know. We want to know what's going on here. What's this all about? Why is it that I'm still having a struggle in this particular area, or why do I still feel like this? And you helped me in this question. So what you're saying is we have to be willing to be vulnerable.
Right. That's right. We have to be
willing.
And
that's tough for us as an adult, right?
Is that, the vulnerability, is that kind of like when you finally say, okay, and so I'm just trying to get some clarification for my sake. Is that kind of like when you say, okay, you know what, I don't know. I just don't know right now. I don't know what to do. I don't know what direction to go. Is that what you mean by?
Okay. It's something like that. That's the very baby steps into contemplating vulnerability. Okay.
Uh-huh.
To actually step into it is to spend a day. Here's a nice little example. Spend a day not having an opinion.
I think we would all need to have a lobotomy, Linda.
Yeah, here's what this is like. Okay, if say you decide one day I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to comment on what anybody's saying. I'm going to be like my lips are sewn shut, and no matter how tempted I am to get involved in that conversation with that person, even if it's just to ask them questions.
Right.
I'm not going to engage. I'm going to become a listener. Okay. This is just one little step into becoming nothing. Okay. Being an observer. Okay, that's what I'm asking you to consider.
Right.
Just become an observer for a day. When you do this, you will come home with so much more information than you had the days before that when you were engaged with these other people. Okay?
Right.
And what's interesting is this is what I learned from it. Now, I bumped into this. My guides guided me in every way. I never read about any of this. They just told me, okay, today you're going to be an observer, Linda, and the next day you're going to be one. And you're going to be another, that one, you're going to do it again for another day, And I just walked right into it. They just led me right into these things, and that's how I learned to do this. I didn't learn this from a book. I learned this from my guides. Okay, so so I became an observer, and I became a listener. And what I realized is when I watched other people communicate and other people engage with them, what the other people were doing when they engaged with that person who was talking is they were already outthinking the person they were engaging with instead of listening to what the person said. And I went, well, that was an interesting observation. I'm sure I was doing that. I mean, you guys, if we look at all this, we can just, there we are, there we were again. We did that over there. How many times can we do this before we go, wait a second, I'm going to rewind this a little bit, and I'm going to back up, and I'm going to take a breath, and I'm going to let my guides just help me out here because evidently I don't seem to know how to stop and start and go, and I don't know how to regulate my life, all right?
Right.
But they seem to know how to do this just exactly, even if it's embarrassing. There was a time when I was embarrassed, and somebody said, "But Linda, blah 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 blah," and they tried to prompt me into it, engage with them. And here I was in the middle of this experiment with my guides. I call all these things I do and learn experiments. And I still wouldn't do it. I mean, you'll get tested like that, okay?
Yeah.
It's a fun, you guys, it's a blast. It's so much fun. When you start living your life with your guides, you start living a guided life, it's so much fun. You can't believe it. You'll do things that you just go, I never would have done that ever in a million years on my own. I wouldn't have done it. Or I wouldn't have done it at that time. I would have been. I felt so embarrassed. I wanted to break the rule. I was so tempted to break that rule, but I didn't do it. And what I learned from not doing it, even under pressure, was amazing, way amazing over anything I could have done by trying to control the situation. See, what happens is we move from vulnerability to ego to thinking we're in control. I'm going to say that again. We move from vulnerability to ego to thinking we're in control. So the vulnerability is when you're young and you don't care what anybody thinks.
Right.
The ego kicks in when the kids are kids. Okay. I got to say, I don't know that I had that much ego as a kid as they have today because of all the things they attach their ego to, like that iPhone and the blah blah blah. Okay.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the ego, and then the ego automatically transmutes into, now I'm in control of my life. No, you're not. As long as you don't know who you are, you have no control over anything. You are not yours. It's as simple as that. It really is that simple. So what people need to do is go back to the vulnerability. That's where the fun was. That's where we experimented with everything. We didn't know anything. It was nothing but fun. Our guides threw things at us. Everything that was thrown at us as kids was, okay, what do we do with this? We tear this apart. We play with this. We take and share this with a friend. We do everything to it. We massacre the thing, okay? Because we are learning so much. We just can't get enough learning in. That's what we need to go back. That's vulnerability. That's where the learning is. That's where, and I want to go back to the word experiments. Throughout Guided, I use the word experiments. I experimented with everything they threw at me. They didn't teach me anything. They threw things in my path. I call them events and opportunities. They threw them at me, and I chose to step into them or not. They became my experiments, and I just had a blast with them. I played with them as far as my imagination and my guides could take me, as far as I could go for who I was. And it's not about an IQ test. It's not about being smarter than somebody else. It's not about having the best grade in school. That's superficial stuff. That's not about learning. That's not learning anything. That's remembering. That's becoming a reciter and a repeater.
Mm-hmm. Right.
These kids have it all wrong. The schools have it all wrong.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have to tell you, Linda, it's like, of course, we could have another hour show for sure. We'd love for you to come back because we're just hitting on some really important things. Because, it's like listening to your story, and I know we didn't get to share your story in how this happened when you were a baby. And you really do need to read Linda's book again. We're going to, as we're going to have to actually end this interview, and Linda's going to tell you how your mind is going to be blown by her story in the beginning. Mm-hmm. That I come around to realize, wow, even though that was like everybody in the room would agree with it, was like that was just terrible to happen to a baby, right? But now you've caused me to feel like you were actually fortunate to have had that happen at that time in your life, because it does, we say this a lot in the Coach Kath, everybody's story seems to be like this, and my own and Estra's, hey, listen, that pain led me to actually start to question and open up to possibilities that I wouldn't have, and it led in a way. But this conversation is a very powerful one in the fact that you're helping us to realize how going back to that time in your existence, like you brought up before, Linda, you're not looked at as a baby by that intelligent all around you, your guides and your angels, that you're actually quite capable. And it sounds like to me you were instilled with a feeling very early on that was the truth. And so it helped you through a time where I read it and went, how could that possibly be that baby was able to handle that? And I do look at children so differently now that I've been involved with teachings like this, where it's like, oh, we're way off. We have no idea really what we are when we got here, that we're actually older, wiser beings when we're looked at as so vulnerable, right?
Right.
But
Absolutely.
That's where our power lies, in our vulnerability. It's fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much for bringing this up.
Yes, you're welcome, Estra. You're welcome. I'm happy to, and I'm happy to come back. I'm happy to.
Oh, I hope so. It's just wonderful.
Yeah.
So we are actually coming. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The book Guided is
yes.
is the full dose of what this
mm-hmm.
is. That's why people love this book. They read it over and over again. They can't put it down when they start reading it, and everybody wants to read it again because
yes.
they realize that what just happened was them. They are what just happened. And now they're ready to go back to the beginning and really highlight, underline, mark the pages, and and let this really sink in so they can make this authentic connection, not some fairy tale connection with their guide. This is the real thing, okay?
Right.
This is how it really works. This is that's why there's a real photograph of a real spirit guide angel on the front of this book. They wanted the world to believe, okay? And that's why they appeared to me. They didn't do this for me. They did this for the world. They knew the book would be written. Right, right. Yep.
Right. And it's perfect timing, and as you pointed out too, in that world, we measure time, we go, wow, it took 20 years for this book to be done. But no, actually there is no time. It's perfect timing, right?
It is. That's right. You're right. So they can go to Amazon and get the book. They can, use my name, Deir, or put in Guided, and they'll find the book, Linda Deir, and they can get it right there on Amazon.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you, Linda. This
You're welcome,
been just
guys.
wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Again, we will have you back on because this is a conversation that we didn't hit on all of those wonderful questions you sent us. We always kind of segue into our own, what comes up, as you can see. So thank you for joining us. We look forward to the next time. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. I know you certainly ignited in me a lot of thoughtful, consideration.
Well, thank you to both of you. You both are just fabulous guests or fabulous hosts. And
thank you.
You draw out the story just by the way that you ask your questions. So it's been a delight.
Well,
wonderful.
thank you. It's been delightful for us as well, and I know for our listeners too. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Until next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
Okay, well,
wow.
A lot to contemplate, and definitely, as she said, the book is the full story there. So, and it is full of those tips. So, it's something that will, in fact, guide you through that process.
Exactly, Esther. And, this is the first time, actually, this has happened for us where the time just went like, whoa, looked up and it was already after 12, where normally, we allow for the time, and it was just one of those conversations. And I know it's not an easy conversation, so I know anyone listening would agree that this is new to your subconscious mind. And when you drop in information like this, it's going to be challenged, and it's probably going to pull away from it first, and because it's just challenging to your logical, linear, conscious thinking to consider something like this, though it is definitely a conversation that's being had much more. And with this technology, we're able to rendezvous with it. And we hope that you're going to look into it rather than pull away. And just consider, just be open. I think that Linda brought up some things that I certainly needed to hear, because I'm not new to this. I spend a lot of my time being, and you do too, Estra, with some pretty unique information that certainly wasn't what I was brought up with. It wasn't taught to me in school, but my soul was asking me to look in that direction and consider a way of looking at life through a different lens that opens up to such things as being guided by your spirit guides. And it will feel like a yes. It will feel like a yes in you. And you'll be open instead of closed, things like that, right?
Yes. And, I think sometimes, like Linda's own story, I feel like she came into this life to have this experience so that she could bring through this information, that she volunteered, as it were, to undergo this. She came in knowing, and actually we all came in knowing what this time-space reality was all about. So that's why it's important that we do kind of open our minds to the idea of dropping those veils and discovering who we really are, authentically. Who are you? What feels right to you? What feels like you're standing in your true, authentic self? That's something. It's interesting that she said that. That struck a chord with me, because it's something that I have been contemplating, from another source as well. So to hear it again, I always, pay attention when you hear something more than once, right?
Absolutely, it's your guide.
In a certain space of time, it is your guidance, and and I think sometimes we're guided more than we realize, and so what happens is when we ignore it, it becomes harder for us to hear it.
Yes,
to acknowledge it, to see it, to understand the ways that it's coming to us. Because it can come, like she mentioned, breathing, getting quiet, disengaging from the world for a time, not all the time, but for a time, in order to get within ourselves enough to be that vulnerable being, and coming to her in her dreams, waking her right up out of a sleep.
Right.
And, and just even out of other people's mouths sometimes, when something just rings really true for you, it resonates within you, pay attention to that. And it's interesting, too, that she said it's not always convenient.
Right.
And yet, you could feel her passion, how fun it was, that, we are very much loved. We don't have to. I think to be, I guess what I was taking away is like, all right, what they're telling you may not be convenient to do, or you may think it's crazy. It may feel like a big risk. It may feel all kinds of ways. But if it's resonating, and you do it, I think what you find is that it's not as hard as you thought it was going to be, and even if it was somewhat challenging, when at the other side of it, when you come out on the other side, you go, wow, I'm actually really glad that I went ahead and did that, because now my world's expanded, and I've expanded. So, listening to that guidance is it's really key to pay attention. And I think sometimes to a certain extent, if you're feeling like you're getting a nudge, well, test it out. Go ahead and do it. See what happens.
Yes.
We're here to experiment, right? She talks about experiments, right? Doing experiments, and that's what this life is about. Is a series of experiments to become more of who we really are, if that makes any sense whatsoever, but to expand even lighter, to shine our light even brighter, and so on. And I think the fear is what turns us away, it keeps us small, and that's when she was talking about the tragedy of living a life in fear and never getting out of that before you leave it, before you leave this life.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
The opportunity perhaps that was missed in why you came here, you know.
Right.
You'll be back. You'll be back.
But wouldn't it be more fun to have it now? You know, you can, and to know that you can. There'll be this subtle energy that you'll feel like you can take that step, you know, and you'll be okay because there's help all around us. You may not see it,
the love
but you'll feel it.
expressing.
You'll feel it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
but look, we only have 5 minutes left.
Oh my gosh!
We only have 5 minutes. So let us make our quick announcements.
Yes.
Please join us next week. We are going to have one of our favorites back, Robert Mack. He is the author of many books. His latest is Bliss from the Inside Out. He is just a gem. Robert is a best-selling author, elite life coach, and coveted keynote speaker. He writes and speaks about ways to live happier, healthier, and wealthier lives from the inside out, and this one is no different. Bliss from the Inside Out. We just love Robert. So he's joining us on Tuesday, and that is November 25th at 11 a.m. We are 2 times now, Tuesdays and Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio. And, since we're running out of time, just real quick, to visit www.coachcaferadio.com, where you'll find out all about us. You know, our intention with Coach Cafe is to definitely be the self-empowerment place to meet, where you get your weekly cup of inspiration with our wonderful guests. But as life coaches, we definitely want to bring the understanding of how life coaches can help you in your life and to live that more expanded, get to know you life with what we have to share, that it is something that is in the mainstream now. It's one of the choices that you have if you feel wobbly, if you're feeling like you're struggling and you just need that, that help, that guidance to get you on track and help you to feel like you can. So we have our training and our techniques and our wonderful influences from the guests that we have personally as coaches, Estra and I. So Estra, real quick, tell people how they can find you, your website.
Just www.americaslifepurposecoach.com.
And I am Kathleen, MartinCoaching.com with a K. And we want to give a shout out to one of our sister stations, LOA Radio.com. And that is with Linda Armstrong and Nada Hayworth, fellow coaches who have also created a Blog Talk radio station where you will learn so much more about the law of attraction. Like we are law of attraction life coaches, and it is one of the laws and principles that we focus on. And we want to just make sure that you're going to have another resource, so that's LOARadio.com, radio on Blog Talk Radio with Linda Armstrong and Nada Hayworth, who just share their wisdom and inspiration as well, so that you can live your best lives. And we look forward to meeting you again next Tuesday in the Coach Cafe. So have a wonderful, wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and a wonderful life. See you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Bye, Estra. Thanks again to
Bye.
Linda Deir.
Yes, absolutely.